Legendary Battles is a set of 3-inch tall, static plastic Army Men style fantasy figures produced by the company Timmee Toys. They are sold in clear plastic bags with header cards, just like old-fashioned rack toys. Each set comes with 24 figures. There are 6 distinct styles, and they each come in 2 colors. So in each set, you get 2 complete sets of figures in each color. These figures are a reissue of toys that were originally released in 1986 by the company Processed Plastic. At that time, fantasy and sword and sorcery were all the rage. Masters of the Universe, Conan, Dungeons and Dragons. Several different toy companies were creating generic-looking fantasy characters to cash in on that craze, and that's what these are. These are pure imagination characters, meaning that there is no backstory, there is no comic book. These characters don't even have names, so you just make up the story, make up the names you want, and play as you like. There are 2 different colorways for these sets that I know of. The one you see here is green and brown. And we also have this red and black set that resemble checkerboard pieces. With the red and black set though, I don't think the details on the figures are as crisp as they are with the brown and green set. The black and red plastic is a bit shinier and a slightly different texture than the green and brown plastic. So that may have something to do with losing a bit of the detail on the figures. So let's take a look at some of these guys close up. This one I call the Viking. For obvious reasons, he's got the winged helmet, battle axe, wearing a cape. He's got a sword by his side. He's ready for battle. And I also have him in red. As I said, the detail's not as crisp on those red and black figures. Next up, I call this guy the Neanderthal. Pretty much your standard caveman, except he's got some fangs sculpted into his facial features. And we also have him in black. This guy I call the Warlord because he looks like he's ready to conquer something. He's got his scimitar, that sort of kabuki looking mask, tunic with a cape. Also have that one in black. You guys seeing what I'm seeing with these figures? Yeah, we'll get back to that in a minute. Next up, we have the Sorcerer. This guy's got a very Skeletor-looking skull face, wand and dagger in hand, ready to cast some evil spells. Also have him in red. How does that skull look in red? Dropping subtle hints there. Next up is the Sorcerer's arch enemy, the Wizard. Obviously because he's got that classic wizard look with the pointed hat, bearded face. He's got an outstretched cape. Here he is in black. And the last figure I call the Demon. He's got a very cat-like face, some bat wings, very animalistic features. I also have him in fiery red. So as I was going through those figures, you may have picked up on some of the subtle hints from what I was describing, as well as some of the obvious features on the figures. If you're a fan of Marvel superheroes, then these look very familiar to you, and there is a good reason for that. Before Processed Plastic created these fantasy figures, they had the license for Marvel superheroes, and they created a line called Activated Superheroes, which consisted of 8 Marvel heroes and 4 Marvel villains. After they lost the license to create Marvel characters, Processed Plastic repurposed some of the superhero molds to create these fantasy characters. So now let's take another look through at these characters and see if you can guess who they used to be. Some are easy, a couple are a little more difficult. And let's start with the low-hanging fruit. Obviously, this Viking guy is Thor. Swap out the hammer for an axe, slightly change the costume a bit, and you have a brand new, slightly familiar Viking character. The Neanderthal is next, and obviously this was the Incredible Hulk. Give him some fangs, long hair, add the club, and there you go. And this particular figure was also shrunk down and included in some caveman sets that Timmee Toys released. These are the type of cavemen you would pair with plastic dinosaurs to create a scientifically accurate play environment. Next up is the Warlord, and the elements of his costume were pretty telling. Of course, this was originally Dr. Doom. And if you didn't recognize that, it's time to turn in your Merry Marvel Marching Society membership card. Say that 3 times fast. Next up is the Sorcerer, and they get a little harder to identify at this point. There was a lot changed from the original figure in this, but the clue is that skull-like face sculpt, which is why I emphasized this red one when I was showing him off before. This guy was originally the Red Skull. Here we have the Wizard, and there was a lot changed from the original figure. There was really only one clue as to who he was originally on this sculpt, and it's in the detail in the feet. You see those sort of bird-like talons on his boots? This was originally, believe it or not, the Falcon. The wings became the outstretched cape. Obviously the head was heavily redone. So they managed to get a wizard out of the Falcon. The last one is probably the hardest to identify. Looking at the details of the figure, there's really not much to clue you in on who he used to be. I mean, maybe you could say a character with bat-like wings, like Morbius or something like that. But the clue I gave originally was when I showed you this figure that was fiery red. Believe it or not, this figure used to be the Human Torch. The flames around the torch became the wings, and everything else was pretty heavily resculpted. So I hope you enjoyed that look at the Timmee Toys Legendary Battles figures. One thing I love in toy collecting is exploring the origins of toys and connecting the dots to find out how toys evolved from one thing to another. And that's what led to this video. I hope you found it of interest. If you are at all interested in seeing the original processed plastic activated superheroes, there is a page devoted to them at the Plaid Stallions website, which is a fantastic resource for toys from the 70s. I will link to that in the description below. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.